Hi, if you're just now picking up in this video series, you're jumping in after we've covered a lot of material. So far we've talked about generating an iron speed application, we've reviewed some of the controls and some of the page properties, and now what we're doing is we are going through each menu of iron speed and we're talking about the functionality that is exposed there. Now, as we're moving through each menu, where appropriate, I'm doing in-depth demonstrations to show how that functionality can be applied. The menu that we're going to move into now is probably going to be the menu that you're going to have the most questions about, not just in terms of using the functionality, but in terms of customizing your own iron speed applications. There literally is an unlimited depth and breadth for what you can do in an iron speed designer application, and the ability to go into an iron speed generated application and customize the code and thereby change the behavior is incredibly powerful, and it adds a lot of scope to what you can do with a generated application. So in order to get into that, let's just go ahead and we're going to open what is called the Code Customization Wizard. And this wizard is not only is it code customization, but it's almost iron speed documentation, just depending on your approach and how you take it with this. So let's go ahead and open the wizard right now. Yeah, you'll see this when the application hasn't been built. Mine has not been built, so let's go ahead and tell it to go ahead and build our application. Okay, now that our application has been built, we are into the wizard interface. The whole idea behind this code customization wizard isn't necessarily to generate all this code in this point and click black magic, suddenly I've got custom code way. What it's meant to do is to give you kind of a shoehorn start into customizing code for your application. Now, some of these customizations will work right out of the blocks, and they'll show you how to do things within iron speed. I would strongly suggest reviewing some of the application customizations and inserting them in an application to see how they will affect the behavior. So let's go ahead and step into this wizard. As you can see, let me get this repositioned so that we have as much viewing area as possible. As you can see, iron speed lists available customizations here on the left, and they try to logically break these up, and I would strongly recommend spending some time going through reviewing each of these. I'm going to try to minimize all of these to get them into one view, and very brilliant of me to miss the collapse tree and the show all down here at the bottom. That's an MVP for you. So what I wanted to do though was get these all collapsed and let you just see all the different categories that we do have for code customizations, data types, you know. There's just a lot of information here, and we're going to arbitrarily pick perhaps one of my favorite customizations, which has to deal with adding a custom button. Of all the customizations I tend to jump into almost every time I build an application, this has got to be one of them. And selecting this gives us the opportunity now to customize this insert, the code that's going to be inserted into our application. I would say strongly never ever ever just click through this part. I would always strongly recommend that you read this from top to bottom. Here is a preview window of the code that's going to be inserted. This preview is going to change as we satisfy questions that the wizard has for us. So as we click next, I wasn't thinking very well. There aren't any custom buttons for us to customize here. So let's go back and let's select a customization that we do know we can use. So let's jump into this data grid. And let's change the mouse over cursor from arrow to hand. So again, I would say it's very important that you read what's here. Check out the preview code for now to see how this looks and how it's going to change. And let's move into the next process of the wizard. Substitution variables. Table name. It's asking us to pick our server. We're going to take the default. That's the only one in our application. Database is pubs. and we are going to select, I think we're in the authors table, and now it's customized this code as we've made our selections. Let's go ahead and hit next. This is the final review of the code that's actually going to be inserted into our application. Now, if you're familiar with .NET and coding applications in .NET, you're going to see, let me get that highlighting turned up, you're going to see some events here that are pretty familiar. The data bind event and the item data bound. These correspond directly with properties, part of the data grid control that's in Visual Studio .NET, and you can see pretty easily what's going on here if you have some .NET experience. And this code is actually going to be injected directly into our application, and when we hit finish, it's going to open the IDE and take us to that part of our application. Now, what happens here is that IronSpeed inserts this code for us, and it will make this code customization where it's appropriate. It might be at the page level in the authors add author page, or it may be necessary to do it up in the app code authors page level code. It just kind of depends on the customization that you're doing and what it needs to access. So that code customization wizard is really powerful. It doesn't necessarily guarantee that the wizard is just going to do exactly what you want it to do right out of the box. The data grid customization that we chose is pretty straightforward, and it's going to do what we want it to do, and I'm not going to demonstrate that. You can see that on your own. I think that would be a good exercise. But in general, code customizations are very powerful. You're going to see lots of questions on them. Feel free to check out this tutorial, additional code examples, and I would certainly check out application documentation and the base class documentation. I could go, well, let's just go ahead and go into this. Here what we've got is literally a customized view of our application. It's broken up by page, and then within each page it exposes the individual events and properties that are taking place within that page. Pretty nifty to be able to just come in and automatically see what's going on in your application. There's no other tool on the market that will do this for you. And this is one of the reasons that I am a big fan of IronSpeed, and you'll catch me using it anytime I get a chance. Let's go back now to our ASPX, and let's go back into the Customize menu, and let's look at the base classes documentation. And I think this is real important documentation to look at and be aware of, because so many of the customizations that you're going to want to bring into your application deal with these base classes. And you're just going to have to get comfortable with the base classes. I don't think you need to know all of this. I would simply learn this on an as-needed basis. Just be aware that this documentation is here. It's available for you to look at, and when you need it, just don't forget it, because it'll save you some time and some effort, and it might even save you some frustration. So know that that documentation is there. And aside from that, in terms of code customization, that wraps up what I wanted to talk about in this video. You'll see down here that we do have the option of launching Microsoft Visual Studio, and that's something that we are going to do later when I talk about debugging generated applications using Microsoft Visual Studio. I've already generated one video going into this, but we're going to do a second one updated to version 5, and we will delve into this in greater detail. So make sure you come back for that video.